and welcome. My name is Carrie Taminia. I am a love and dating coach and an EFT tapping expert. And I wanted to talk to you today about the concept of self-love. See, there's this graphic that's making its way this past year around the interwebs. You may have seen it, Instagram, Facebook, whatever social media platform you're on. And every time I see it, I think, oh, I need to make a video about this. Every time I see it, I'm like, ugh, this is so irritating, this graphic, because it's so incorrect. It's so incorrect. And every time I see it, I say, oh, I need to make something about that. And so here I am making something about it. And essentially, if you have or you haven't seen the graphic, essentially what it is it's a quote that says, stop telling people that no one will love them if they haven't learned to love themselves. Stop putting the idea in people's heads that they are unworthy if they struggle, or that they're unworthy of love if they struggle. And every time I see that graphic, I think, wow, what a really, really flawed representation of self-love and the role that it plays in our human ability to find love and connection and relationships on this planet in this lifetime. And if you are one of those people who has struggled with the concept of self-love, or feels like self-love is difficult, or something that you just can't seem to master yet, then welcome to being human. That is part of why we are here. And I will tell you that there is probably not many people on the planet who have completely mastered the concept of self-love, and that they are unwavering in their love for themselves. And the reason is, again, that is part of our journey as human beings. It is not something that is impossible, but it also is not something that anyone is exempt from. We are all here to learn to love ourselves more and better. And the entire purpose of the relationships that we're in, the entire purpose of our human connections and our human interactions, is to learn us and grow us and evolve us, often in the realm of self-love. See, the biggest problem I have with that graphic, and every time some coach sticks it on Instagram and is like, preach, I want to reach to the phone and strangle them, because they're sending such a damaging message to a world of people who are supposed to be learning self-love on purpose. See, we have some pretty big misconceptions about self-love, one of them being that it just happens, right? That it's a yes or a no. It's a I figured it out or I didn't figure it out. I have self-love or I don't have self-love. And because of that messaging, we get kind of confused when we decide to love ourselves, and then it doesn't just automatically happen. It doesn't just click into place and we move on with our lives sort of, in a place of self-love where we weren't before. The reason that self-love can be a struggle, the reason that it's difficult, is not because there's anything wrong with us. It's not because it has anything to do with our worth and value. It's because it was never something that clicks into place in the first place. Self-love is a process of learning. It is a commitment to a practice. It is an ongoing learning pathway that we are on as human beings to gradually learn to understand how to love and accept ourselves. It never had anything to do with worth and value. Self-love is not about whether you're worthy of a relationship. It's not about whether you're worthy of being loved by other humans. The reason that you're loved by other humans is so you can learn to love yourself. See, self-love never had anything to do with your worth and value. It's about remembering that you were worthy the entire time. It's about remembering that you were never unworthy to begin with. Not from the moment that you existed were you ever unworthy, because you are inherently divine. You are whole and complete already. You are just living in Earth School right now. And so yes, self-love can feel like a struggle for many people. And it is not as easy as it appears for the people that it appears easy for. Self-love and preaching self-love, which is something that I do vehemently, is not about it being a prerequisite. It's about engaging in the process of learning how to love yourself better. And expecting it to just happen is the equivalent of showing up to the first day of classes at university and saying, well, if someone doesn't hand me a degree by the time I leave this class, then I guess fuck it. There's no point in this entire process. No, you're on a path. You're on a learning process that you've committed to engaging in. Self-love is the same. You are on a learning process that you are committing to engaging in. And if self-love is hard, you're not supposed to start with self-love. Start with self-acknowledgement. Start with just seeing yourself where you are. Start with just paying attention, because we live in a world where paying attention is so hard sometimes. Start with self-acceptance. Start with anything that is on that pathway to the ultimate goal of self-love, which we will fully realize when we leave this earth and these bodies, and we are then reunited with the whole and complete version of ourselves. No one is telling people, and if this is the message that you have heard, I deeply, deeply apologize on behalf of every coach that exists on the planet right now. No one is saying that you must love yourself before anyone else will love you. No one is saying, or they should not be saying, that you must love yourself in order to prove that you are worthy of being loved. The reason that I preach self-love first, that if you are struggling in your relationships, that if you are having difficulty in your romantic connections or your otherwise connections, the reason that I preach to begin with self-love is because self-love is the one thing that you have control over, in that it is the process that you can engage in. You cannot force other people to love you better, but you can shift your energy so that you attract people who already do. And it's not about worth. It's about recognizing that you're worthy. It's not about value. It's about understanding that if you start here, if you raise the standard internally, that you raise the standard in your relationships every time they show up. And for every minute you spend denying that self-love is a required part of showing up in your relationships as a whole and complete version of yourself, or being on that pathway, is every moment that you are accepting relationships that are likely not to par with what you actually deserve. Because it is a whole lot easier to recognize better love when it shows up in your life. It is a whole lot easier not to accept bad behavior, not to accept less than stellar relationships, not to accept abuse and gaslighting and boundary pushing and all of the damaging behaviors that can show up in our relationships. It is a hell of a lot easier to see those coming from miles out if you already have a standard of alignment within yourself. If you are already engaging in and working on your own self-love factor, because it becomes really quickly clear once you commit to engaging in that process of learning. It becomes very quickly clear what is not aligned with that and what is. See, the more you learn to love yourself better, the less you're able to accept people who don't. The more you're able to learn to love yourself better, the less you can tolerate behaviors that are questionable. And the more you learn to love yourself, the more your energetic baseline rises, so that the relationships and the people coming into your experience are at a different level entirely. Again, it's not about being worthy. It's not about being valuable. It's about remembering that you already are and you always were. And that process of remembering, that process of learning is exactly that. It's a process. If you have not mastered self-love, it does not mean that you won't have a relationship. It doesn't mean no one will love you. It means that you, like the rest of the humans on this planet, are still learning how to love yourself, because that's why you're here in the first place. That is the big culminating lesson of being a human, is love. Welcome to it. Enjoy it. And stop perpetuating this idea that, we can kind of ignore the requirement of learning self-love, that commitment to that process, because it's hard sometimes. Of course it's hard. If it wasn't hard, we wouldn't have to be on another planet in another dimension, learning the thing, right? So anytime you see these types of messages kind of floating around, I really, really would encourage you just to come back to a really basic understanding of self-love and what it is and what it means. and just acknowledge where you are on that pathway, on that process of learning. And there are going to be days that it's easier and there'll be days that it's harder. And in either case, you're still in the process of learning. And as long as you are committed to that process of learning, girl, you've got it. You're doing it. I want to end this little preachy video because I'm just so fired up about this graphic. I keep seeing it. I want to end this video with just a really simple, really basic tapping. So again, I'm an EFT tapping expert, so it's one of the primary modalities that I use, and a really, really great and easy way to shift your energy and to just introduce some new ways of thinking or feeling into your consciousness in a really simple way. So if you would like to continue on with me, this next portion of the video, I'll be doing a short tapping sequence. And if you've never done tapping before, please rest assured that it is very easy. All you have to do is repeat out loud after me what I say, if you're able, and follow along with me, tapping on the acupressure points that I am tapping on. And the more you do it, the more you'll get the hang of it. So thrilled you're here if this is your first time. If you've done this before with me, you likely know the deal. And I'm just honored that you are sharing this space with me today. Beginning on the side of your hand. So we always begin here on the sort of fleshy bit of your hand. And again, just a short, quick little energy shift around this topic, around self-love, around worth and value, because we could all use that, right? And repeating after me. Even though I'm still learning how to love myself better. Right here and right now, I'm okay. And I truly and deeply accept myself anyway. Even though I'm still learning how to love myself. And some days it's really hard. Right here and right now, I'm okay. And I truly and deeply accept myself anyway. Even though I'm not always great at loving myself. And sometimes I wonder if I'll ever get the hang of it. Right here and right now, I am okay. And I accept all parts of me, even the parts that are still learning. Moving now to your eyebrow point, which is right at the beginning of your eyebrow. I'm still learning. Side of your eye. Sometimes it feels like I'm really bad at this. And then under your eye. Sometimes it feels like loving myself is so hard. Under your nose. I'm still learning to love myself. And on your chin. I'm still learning. And then your collarbone. I haven't mastered self-love yet. Under your arm. Sometimes I wish I had. The top of your head. I wish I was better at this. I wish I already knew how to love myself. I wish I could wake up tomorrow and have self-love all figured out. but I'm still learning. And I honor myself for the path that I am on. I choose to honor myself for my process of learning. I choose to honor my path. And I acknowledge that I am still learning. And that's exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be learning how to love myself. And I honor myself in this moment for all the learning I've already done. Back to the side of your hand. Even though I am still learning how to love myself. I acknowledge the possibility that maybe I am exactly where I'm meant to be. And I love and accept all parts of me. Even though I am still learning how to love myself. I'm still figuring it out. I choose to acknowledge that perhaps this is where I am meant to be. And maybe I am learning exactly what I'm supposed to be learning. Even though I am learning how to love myself. I honor my path. And I choose to remember that I am already worthy. And I am already valuable. Exactly the way that I am. In this moment. And I love and accept all parts of me. Moving again to your eyebrow point. I'm still learning how to love myself. And maybe it's time that I learn to see that as a positive thing. Maybe it's time that I honor my learning and the path that I am on. I am learning to love myself. Good for me. I'm learning to love myself. It is exactly what I'm meant to be learning. I give myself credit for learning to love myself. Good for me. I choose to honor my path. I choose to acknowledge my effort. I choose to honor my journey. Both what is behind me and what is in front of me. I commit in this moment to learning to love myself better. I commit in this moment to the process of learning to love myself. There is no requirement to have it all figured out. I am only required to learn. And most of all, I choose in this moment to remember that no matter where I am on my path and on my journey, that I am already completely worthy and completely valuable. I am worthy and I have inherent value. Not as of this moment, not as of yesterday or the day before, but as of the moment that I existed. I choose in this moment that every cell of my body, every molecule of my being would remember that I am inherently worthy and inherently valuable. I choose in this moment that every part of me would receive an overwhelming reminder that I am divine in every state of my learning. I choose to remember what I may have forgotten. I am worthy. And as I learn to love myself more, and as I learn to love myself better, I will continue to be worthy. And I am open to the possibility of beginning to treat myself as such. Take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. And before we end, take one hand and just place it over your heart, right on the flat of your chest. And use one or two fingers on the other hand to press or tap your gamut point, which is this groove between the knuckle of your pinky and the knuckle of your ring finger. And repeat after me. There are parts of me that have been healed by this. And there are parts of me that have not yet been healed. The parts of me that have not yet are willing to learn from the parts that have. My mind, body, spirit, and energy system are accepting that information now. New neural pathways. The information transfer is complete. I am grateful. Thank you. Together, divine. One more deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Thank you so much for being here with me today, for sharing this space with me, for listening to me preach about self-love. It's really, really deeply important that we perpetuate an understanding of self-love that is accurate. And I want nothing more for you to leave this space and this video with a deep understanding that you are on a learning process, a path to understanding how to love yourself better. And it's exactly where you're meant to be, and that you are already worthy and you are already valuable, because self-love has nothing to do with your worth except for remembering that you were always worthy from the beginning.